Okay, guys, I'm back. Man, I'm bummed. Um, the past 4 years, there's been an ideological debate over immigration, over the narrative from the current administration is that white supremacy is the greatest threat to America. Um, and for the past 4 years, we've basically seen American gun owners sort of criminalized as the anti-Second Amendment Biden administration, led by his director of the ATF, Steve Dettelbach, and the director of the FBI, Christopher Wray. It's all been very hostile to conservatives, especially I'm not even going to say white conservatives, because if you're black, you're a conservative. They slander you just the same. But nevertheless, the past 4 years, the same FBI that the other day or the other morning had difficulty just simply saying no comment or we don't know. We're still investigating. They had to immediately say that it's not a terrorist attack. This guy with a ISIS flag that he's flying out of the back of his truck. But it's an IED. We're studying an IED event. Like, what does that mean? An IED event is usually a terrorist attack, or always a terrorist attack. I've never heard of a guy who just wants to attack his his mother-in-law, and so he builds a roadside bomb. It's always an IED attack. Is always a terrorist attack. But nevertheless, so in the past 4 years, as we've been, you know, sort of conditioned to believe that radical Islamic fundamentalism is no longer a threat, and it happens on the other side of the world, and we don't need to worry about it. We just need to keep sending hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine to fight a war against Putin. Just like a lot of shit that makes no sense. But when it always comes back to the U.S., it's beware of the white conservatives, right? Because they're the Nazis. They're the racists. And this is coming from a guy, Joe Biden, who, has been the member of the Democratic Party that was founded by the KKK. He has voted against, every civil rights bill that he's ever had an opportunity to vote on. I mean, this is the guy who's like, you ain't black if you don't know, his stories about corn pop and narrowly escaping death when the knife blade bounced off his buckle. Anyway, but what Americans have been led to, sort of lulled to sleep, lulled to sort of hypnotized into a state of non-action, of not staying vigilant or I would say aware of the real world outside of the non-existent borders of this country, where there are really bad people that want to kill innocent people based off of their religion or their skin color. And newsflash, it's not white guys from America who are patriots, who are, So in the past 4 years, as the FBI has been scouring the planet for January 6th attendees and going to abortion clinics, and then, doing 3 a.m. raids at a pastor's house, with a full tactical team with body armor and machine guns, and they get out and they arrest this guy and his kids, pointing guns at him. And I mean, this has been like a story over and over again. There was a guy, he had been, he was engaged in the business of like buying guns and then selling them at gun shows. I forgot his name, Steve Malinowski, I think it was. And they get a warrant for his arrest, and they could have arrested him at work when he wasn't home, like next to probably the gun on his nightstand. And they could have come during the day, but they decide to come in the middle of the night when it's obviously someone is not thinking clearly, when they're waking up and they hear pounding on the door, and they go and they look out their Ring camera, or they look in their phone and they see that there's a piece of tape over their Ring camera. Of course they're going to grab their weapon and defend their house, And so this dude was shot dead. And there's just been a bunch of people, basically gun owners, that, they broke a rule that the FBI or the ATF had. They're constantly like re-examining their laws, or laws that are enacted by Congress, but they're reinterpreting them always, and then trying to then recreate new rules, and then which are technicalities, and then that gives them the right to, or gives them the entitlement to go to your house under the false pretenses that you're breaking the law now, and then they get to arrest you at gunpoint. And it's all because, you're a threat, and you're a gun owner, and you're the greatest threat to to America that America's ever seen, Nevertheless, while we have been either defending ourselves for being conservatives or attacking conservatives, you might have noticed that liberals have been, storming the Supreme Court building when Roe v. Wade was overturned, and protesting out in front of Supreme Court justices' private homes, and trying to assassinate the president, and sneaking around Mar-a-Lago golf course with a gun, and then a Secret Service agent mysteriously takes 6 shots at him and misses every one from 10 feet away. Obviously, the result of DEI, the same. It's the exact same with the FBI lady who, held a press conference after a dude in a black, or driving a truck with a black ISIS flag hanging out of it, who gets into a gunfight with police and is killed, and then they find bombs in his truck, bombs that he had planted around the city, and yet it wasn't a terrorist attack, and it was being investigated as an IED event, for whatever that, nonsense is worth. But my point is that we've been being misled, and meanwhile, as these open borders that they keep telling us were closed, every time they get Mayorkas to try to commit to saying yeah, we have a problem, he would refuse to talk about it. He would refuse to call it a humanitarian crisis. Um, and he would keep saying that the border's closed. Now, this is the same guy who had two of his Border Patrol agents who were on horseback, and they were using the reins of their saddle to try to control their horse. And some photographer got it at like the right angle, and it looked like they were like whipping migrants with these leather straps, right? Now, he knew when he made the comment that what it actually was, right? Because he had already talked to the agents, and it had been very clear that they were not like slave like slave owners that are out lashing their slaves. Um, they were on horseback trying to prevent a mass tidal wave of people from crossing into the country, and they were on horseback trying to do it, and they had rein or a horse whip. But nevertheless, he said that they were like, he, when given the chance, and in the media, he had alluded to them being white supremacists, right? And this has done absolutely nothing but put Americans at risk for what I'm about to tell you now, okay? So there's a woman named Sarah Evans. She's a CIA analyst. She's a CIA agent. And she's been warning this dude who's he's a ex-Navy SEAL. He worked for the agency, the CIA, for years following that. And now he has a show, a podcast called The Sean Ryan Show. And he's had her on several times, and she keeps talking about the plans that Al-Qaeda has had in the past 5-6 years that we've all been in America fighting amongst ourselves and trying to, while vilifying patriotic gun owners, conservative gun owners, and trying to use these, technicalities of, oh, you have your barrel's too short, or, you've got a unregistered suppressor, you got a ghost gun, we need to take that from you, and then give you a felony so you can never own a gun again. So they've been trying to basically disarm America. Now, if they could, they would just completely ban guns. But thank God that we have very powerful lobbyists and enough people in this country that care about the Second Amendment and understand what it's for. And I'm about to tell you what it's for, because there's a lot of information that I wasn't even aware of. Now, check this out. Paint the picture, and following what I'm about to say, I am going to post a compilation of Joe Biden calling white racist conservatives, the greatest threat to America. And he said this many times throughout his presidency, which to the average person who doesn't, study politics all day, can start to become the truth, right? It was like Trump calling those tiki torch carrying, Proud Boys in Charlottesville very fine people, saying that over and over again until it just becomes the truth, right? So imagine this, and I'm gonna play that video of Biden, and then I'm going to play you a video of Sarah Evans and another 2 videos I have, about 5 minutes apiece. And they all are related to what I'm about to tell you. And then at the end, I also included a 60-second clip of me dry firing using a shot timer, which... once you hear what I'm about to tell you, you will, I'm going to make the suggestion that everybody, if you don't own a gun, you need to buy one. And you need to train with it. You need to at least go to the range and learn how to use it. And then if you can't make it out to a range every week, at least do dry firing 5-10 minutes a night and get the muscle memory down so that you can utilize your weapon quickly. Now, I'm not saying get a rifle and a pistol. I say get at least a pistol, something that you can carry with you out in the streets, because what I'm about to tell you is it's very disturbing. So imagine this. Imagine 1,500 people who have entered this country and are here right now. And these people all have a end goal of creating a caliphate throughout the world, right? And their life means nothing. They glorify death like we celebrate life. They don't see death as the end. Now imagine you take these 1,500 people and using the training methods, the training videos you can find on YouTube of CQB, close quarter, battle, and how to fight in a closed structure with hallways and doorways, how to clear rooms, how to fight in in an urban environment. Those videos are everywhere, and a lot of them have to do with a lot of patriotic Americans who get together and train in groups, in small groups, and they train regularly for an event like what I'm about to tell you. So imagine you have these 1,500 people, and imagine dividing those 1,500 people into 10 groups of 150 people. And then of those 150 people, you could take 30 groups of 5, right? You go to 10 cities in the country, 10 of the biggest cities, and you could take these groups of 5 that are now not wearing, big dresses and the shit you wear in Afghanistan. They're not wearing like big burlap sacks and old sandals made of like goat skin. They're now wearing the tactical gear that Biden left behind 5 years ago when he abandoned all of our military equipment in Afghanistan. So they are using tactical gear with American weapons, M4, AR-15 type weapons. And they are, because they have nothing to do all day. Most of them are unemployed. They sit around all day and they train. And that's all they do, is they train and they do drills, dynamic shooting drills, transferring from rifle to pistol, back to rifle, running from one spot to the next, taking 3 shots, laying down suppressive fire for your homie who's coming over to join you in a different spot, and how to, shoot and cover drills, they're doing it all. And they're posting videos of it, and that's the disturbing thing, because these guys are dangerous. Now imagine you have, in each of these 10 cities, you have 30 groups. In each city, 30 groups of 5 guys. Do you guys remember back in Paris, France, in like 2016, when those 5 ISIS members attacked an Ariana Grande concert, lit a bomb outside, and I don't think many people were killed. I think 1 or 2 were killed. But in that same little group, a couple of them went to the Bataclan Theater, where there was a American rock band called the Eagles of Death Metal. And they killed everybody. They killed over 130 or 140 people. Now, if you take a group of 5 guys who are well trained and are shooting tactically and are covering each other's backs, your average large city does not have the law enforcement resources, the amount of cops, you can't muster in a, you know, several platoons, a regiment of military soldiers, or, military dudes to come in and help clean up the riffraff, right? This would all be American law enforcement agencies, police, police precincts, dealing with 30 different groups spread throughout a city, groups of 5. And let's just say one would go to a busy mall, like the attack in Nairobi, where you had 5 guys um, killed just, 70 or 80 people or whatever it was. And that's what this woman, Sarah Evans, was talking about. Is she's talking about that's not like the theory. That's the chatter that they're hearing. Is that it's going to mimic the attacks that, like, we saw in Israel on October 7th, where you had these groups that stormed the border. They went to the different kibbutz, and with like 5 to 10 guys apiece, and they just slaughtered as many women and children unarmed as they could, and then they moved on, right? And it took them like all day or several days to clear them out, right? So the problem in America is, if you have 10 different cities, and each one of these cities had 30 different groups of 5 people, and they went to the 30 most busy places in a city, it would really be hard to get your arms wrapped around that before lots of people died, right? You could take 5 people, and I live in Arizona, so I live like in the Camelback corridor. I live next to Squaw Peak. You could take a group of 5 guys and go over to the Biltmore Fashion Square, or Fashion Park. And with 5 guys running through that park, or it's actually like, it's got a Macy's, and it's got a Gucci and a Louis Vuitton store. You could go through there and you could kill hundreds of people, right? Each person loaded down with 7 or 6 mags of 30 apiece. That's what, 90, 180, and then a sidearm with 20 round magazines, and you got 3, one in the pistol, 2 more in the on your belt. That's 60 more. And these guys, like I said, they're not like, they're well armed. They're in tactical gear. They're in body armor. They've got all the stuff that I just showed you, in that last video where I went through the belt, I went through a plate carrier. Now, I'm not sure if they've got ceramic plates, and I don't know how, but I would imagine, they've been here for 4 years now. It wouldn't be hard to, if you can order them, if you're in America and you have you could put money on a gift card, go down to Walgreens, get a gift card, and then order the plates, and then have them shipped to you. The only like, you can't buy guns or body armor or any of that stuff out and have it shipped outside of the U.S. But as long as they've already come in through a wide open border that Democrats have been telling us was totally safe, while at the same time they were telling us that guys like me are the biggest threat to Americans, right? I wouldn't hurt an innocent person for all the money in the world, and neither would any of the people that I consider close friends that are shooters and gun collectors, and who train with their firearms. We're not looking to hurt innocent people. Nobody is, except a few psychopaths. And yet we're the ones that represent the biggest threat, not the anonymous masses who came across our border and who've already, made statements when they were over in the Middle East about death to America and whatnot. You guys, I don't think this is going to end well. And from what she was saying, she's saying that in 2025 they have a goal, and it's 60,000 Americans. And when I think about it, it almost seems like, wait, what? 60,000? But, you got 1,500 people, and you've got groups of 5, and each person could take 50 apiece. I mean, you know what I mean? The numbers start adding up real quick. And, man, when I started watching some of these videos and what she was saying, and then I saw the videos, the training videos of this dude who's running around doing pistol to rifle, back and forth, and then running, and dude shooting. Man, I am not optimistic about where this is going, dudes. So, today or tonight, I was thinking about all day about like doing a video about the Trump, tower bomber, and I'm like, who cares about that? I mean, was it a conspiracy? Was he trying to cover up for a war crime from 2019 he was involved in, where they targeted buildings and hundreds of civilians died and stuff in Afghanistan? Or was it about the drones and this drone technology? And it's like China and America we're headed to a Armageddon. Like that's what this other thing was, right? And I'm like, ooh, is he still alive? And then it doesn't even matter, dude. What matters is the threat that we have currently, right now in this country, when they're going to be activated, and are we prepared? Now, here's the thing. I know that there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of Americans who are gun owners and who are more than just gun owners, right? They're more than just like, I collect guns and they stay in a safe. They actually use them, and they're actually proficient with them, and they carry them on a daily basis because they don't want to become the next victim, right? And there are groups of guys that train in groups. Now, the Biden administration would want you to call them insurrectionists or a militia, or they would try to smear what they do in every way possible. However, when you see these videos, I think that you're going to agree that if what plays out is what she is predicting, we cannot have enough of armed Americans who train regularly, who carry with them out in society, because when it happens, it's going to happen quickly. But it's going to be a lot worse than just like a mass shooting at the mall. It's going to be like, if they put in a couple groups of 5 to go through a neighborhood, actually, I don't see that as being ending up good for those guys, because, this is our turf. I know, like, if I had to fight from a defensive position of my house, I know where all the block walls are. You know what I mean? I know where to fire from. We've got cameras, ring cameras that completely surround this house. I can see, using the zoom, I can see a quarter of a mile down both streets, cars coming. I can see out into the back alley. I can see into the neighbors' backyards. I can see our front door. I can see every window. So I can see him coming, and I personally am well armed, as obviously. But not only that, I am well trained, and I have ammunition in the boxes right here, and bags. I mean, these are just the little bags I have in case I have to, jump in a truck. Those are 5.56. These are 9mm. Right. You got just lots of bullets. These are 22 long rifle, which are great for a shit hits the fan event, because these will stop a lot of people that don't have body armor on, which are most people. So, I have probably about 10,000 rounds of these. I mean, this is probably about 500, but I have about 10,000, so I could shoot these until, the next ice age and not run out. And I've got about 2,500 rounds of 9mm. 1,000 rounds are suppressed, so if I have to come smoke you and be all stealth about it, I can do it, because the subsonic 9mm 150 or 47 grain are super quiet. And if I have to take this out of the deal, right, and put this under a jacket, and then, right, you guys have seen this. This is the little B&T suppressed USW G17 conversion chassis. So 9mm for days, and then I've got about 2,000 5.56. I think it's 193 or M193 and 223, and then I've got 1,200 rounds of M855 green tip, which are made for penetrating body armor. So, send me those Al Qaeda with their plate carriers, because I'll punch right through them. Anyway, so that's where we're at with this. I'm sort of nervous, I did a video, sort of just a little tutorial on dry firing. I'm sure that, if you're a gun owner, you know all about dry firing, but if you listen to this video and you decide that you're going to go get a pistol, or let's say you own a pistol and it hasn't gotten out of its little case since you bought it, and with what I'm about to show you, let's say that sort of encourages you to start using it and training with it, you might want to start doing some dry firing drills and becoming quick with your shooting abilities, because if one of these sleeper cells goes active, there's no warning. It's going to happen. So I would advise, at least until shit calms down, maybe the Trump administration gets in office, does some mass deportations, where American citizens aren't intimidated into admitting that they're like gun owners, and they start being more open and sort of public about it, so that they can start training in groups, and we can sort of like up armor this country, away from being a bunch of soy bitches that are afraid of weapons, and everybody's, trying to out-gender pronoun each other. Everybody's trying to be like the least racist. You know, everybody's trying to be the guy that, like, you hear about a sexual assault, and the male feminist dude who's like, he types in, he's like, yeah, guys, we need to do better. And then he goes, on behalf of all guys, or of men, I want to apologize. And it's like, it's that mentality, that political correctness, like that virtue signaling mentality, that's got us to where we are. Where, it's like everybody's so concerned about being like liked and being perceived as like the least racist person ever. The most anti slavery white guy to exist. They're so stupid. Anyway, and the point of all that is that, like, people do that so that, like, people will, acknowledge them. And the reality is this, is like, bro, you're not unique. Like, nobody is racist. It's like these Democrats think they're so fucking unique and so, like, they're just so cool because, like, did you see him? He's white and he's not even a racist. It's like, dude, who is? Like, it would be even embarrassing in this time to be like, yeah, I believe that because I have white skin, something I can't control, that makes me superior. I'm smarter. It's like, that's a dumb, that's a dumb, that's like, you'd have to be an idiot to think that, right? And in the 90s, when I was growing up, we thought racism was dumb. It was a dying belief system until Democrats, like, arose it from the dead, gave it mouth to mouth, CPR to kickstart some life back into it, so they could use it to be like, come on, Dems, or come on, inner city black voters, vote for us. We'll protect you. From all those racists out there are no racists out there. That's the problem. And I've been a part of the Trump supporting MAGA, whatever it is, since the beginning. And it's never been about racism. It's always been about, let's protect America for Americans, all Americans, whether you're black or Chinese or white or Mexican or whatever. We don't give a shit. What we want is American tax dollars helping American citizens. And fuck your race. Nobody gives a shit. But, it's like Democrats are they have no originality. Like, they couldn't have figured something new out. They did, let's bring it back to racism. It's like, so dumb. Anyway, so I'm going to play these videos. The very last video I am going to post is 60 seconds of me using a timer that will give you like a random start to draw, and then I set it at a second for me to draw, present the weapon to my target, right? Passively looking through my sight on my gun as I am focused. I am target focused, and my weapon is I'm only passively looking through it. I'm bringing it up into my target. Anyway, most of my shots were under a second, barely. I mean, obviously, it's like 1 second is not long, but so it goes off. I'm able to draw it, present it, pull the trigger, and before the beep sounds a second time. So, and that's a free app in the App Store for Apple. Anyway, boy, I'll tell you what, guys, I'm not stoked on what I saw today on these videos about what's going on here with with illegal migrants that got in who have, like sinister motivations that deal with like jihad and Islamism Islamism or Islamic fundamentalism or whatever. So that's it. Thanks for listening. You guys are great. If anybody lives in Arizona and wants to train, there's about a couple guys that have reached out to me. We're going to be going shooting here soon. Of course, we're going to record it, get video of that day. So we're going to make a video. There's 4 of those dudes. And then I'm going out with 3 of my buddies. So we're going to have a great day at the range. And we're going to be able to do a lot of training. And we're going to get that on video so that y'all can, either if you already know, maybe it can provide some motivation. If you don't know, then maybe you can pick up some motivation to get involved, right? And if you want to go with us, drop me a message in the just private DM me. Other than that, dudes, if you could like and subscribe, share any comments you guys leave. You know how it works, man. It helps the algorithm to get my videos to more people, which in turn gets me more subscribers, which in turn gets me more blah blah blah. And at some point this thing gets big, and then it gets big, right? And the whole point of this is to reach as many people as I can and try to get as many like-minded people who care about saving this country and care about defending themselves and care about just the hobby, the lifestyle of shooting guns, who are interested in current events, true crime, politics. You know what's up. You guys know what's up. All right, guys. Thank you, and stay tuned. These videos are good. So, thanks.
Listen to this real quick. Just listen.
According to the intelligence community, terrorism from white supremacy is the most lethal threat to the homeland today. Not ISIS, not Al-Qaeda, white supremacists. According to the United States intelligence community, domestic terrorism from white supremacists is the most lethal terrorist threat in the homeland. The most dangerous terrorist threat to our homeland is white supremacy.
Adding to that, the speech he gave in 2023 after the Hamas terror attack, murdering women, children, and families, he mentioned Islamophobia more times than anti-Semitism. That's Joe Biden.
Well, there's never any data to back any of that up. We know from federal crime statistics that the greatest targets of hate crimes are Jewish Americans. They only comprise 2% of the population, and they're 50% of the victims. And the perpetrators are not what he says, whites. They're underrepresented in hate crimes, to take that example. But blacks, people of color, for whatever reasons, are overrepresented demographically. So there's no empirical data to back that up, other than he's pandering to his base. And the same thing about, if you look at the data of crimes in the context of terrorism, who perpetrates terrorism, it's not white supremacists. They don't rank anywhere near Islamic radicals. I mean, after all, this started with 3,000 people killed by Islamic radicals on 9/11.
Of an Al-Qaeda training camp, and it was almost like a display. It looked like a well-done YouTube video of skills. Is that common?
Yeah, but that's a step down. So
that was really good.
That's Taliban. Those are the Taliban camps. So we can't get those kind of videos out of the Al-Qaeda camps, as you can imagine. You can't even bring phones into the Al-Qaeda camps. So Al-Qaeda is even a level above those.
I mean, I'm going to overlay that video for the audience to see just how sharp these guys are getting. I mean, that's really good. Well, when I saw that, it scared the shit out of me.
Remember, their life is they train all the time.
Yeah.
So if that's all you're doing all day long, I mean, you're going to get really competent at it. And then they have different emotions behind it too. And, you know, different beliefs and the religion behind it too, which makes you more devout.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then we had a little brief discussion about suicide, the invisible bomb vests downstairs. Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's kind of one of those things that keep you up at night, right? You know, when we're talking about the threats to the homeland, you know, if you subscribe to the newsletter, Sean Ryan's newsletter, go to Vigilance Elite.
So for everybody that doesn't know already, Sarah writes a weekly intelligence report, all things terrorism. It's in the Sean Ryan Show newsletter. You can go to SeanRyanShow.com. There's a sign-up link. It'll be in your inbox every Monday.
So we first talked about what they call the invisible bomb in the newsletter, and basically it was highlighted in December, just this last December, and it was Al-Qaeda's in the Arab Peninsula, so their branch in Yemen, right? And they basically were showing off. It's really interesting. The video got taken down right away, and then I think most people in the U.S. didn't even see it. So like TSA completely ignored putting out the actual piece of the video that mattered. And so the big piece of the video was teaching terrorists how to make a bomb that goes through a magnetometer. So, you know, like most airports in the world, you don't have that weird hand scan thing. You just go through a random metal detector. So this bomb basically goes through the metal detector, okay? So they were showing it off then. Well, now Al-Qaeda's advanced and it's in a suicide vest. But the interesting part is it doesn't just go supposedly through the metal detector. They made it with components dogs aren't trained on to sniff. So if you say, okay, well, we'll up our security and put more dogs, Al-Qaeda's saying, well, we've defeated that too. And this is the type of vest they plan to use potentially in their homeland attack that's coming up. So it's very concerning because we aren't prepared for that. I mean, most of the buildings you go into, even if they have some sort of thing, it's already defeats that.
I mean, I don't think we're prepared for anything that's coming.
Right, we're not.
I mean, do we have any preparations at all? I mean, from what I've seen, we have no preparations. We're going to get into more about the funding of Taliban. I mean, we're funding our own.
Dozens of migrants pulling aside a razor wire fence.
Migrants running right past officers. Take a look. A group of 7 men emerged from the brush.
This isn't a joke. This isn't over-embellished. The borders are wide open.
If you are smart enough, you will know who I am. But you are really not smart enough to know who I am. But soon you're gonna know who I am.
They're printing legitimate passports out and handing them out to as many terrorists as they possibly can to get them into South Central America and have them funnel up through the southern border.
Venezuela.
There's no easy way to tell you this. We found your daughter's body. An illegal immigrant that was a gotaway from El Salvador raped her, strangled her. These murders are very horrendous.
I would say not only Al-Qaeda, ISIS-K type operatives, but you're also looking at state actors.
As long as that border is wide open and nobody in America is paying attention, why would they attack now? Why wouldn't they just keep, hey, let's train some more guys up, get them passports, have them infiltrate into the U.S. Going still good, get some more trained up, get them passports, get them in there. Get as many of these terrorists into the United States as we possibly can. And then, if they ever do actually secure that border, that's go time.
Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
You're looking at China, Russia, Iran.
There was a woman from Iran who was turned over to intelligence specialists as a subject of interest.
This is a country with 0 borders. They've already caught people.
All of these state actors have unconventional warfare mandate. I mean, look at what happened on October 7th. You know, that was horrorism. That was beyond terrorism.
9/11 was a $500,000 budget.
The attack in Russia at the theater, October 7 by Hamas in Israel, these are all local distributed attacks of horrorism. You know, horrific attacks, not World Trade Center type things, but where we live, work, and play.
We could face a coordinated terrorist attack from elements among the millions who've entered this country illegally over the last 3 years. Is this fear justified?
I am worried about the possibility of a terrorist attack in the country after October 7th.
We can't be amateurish about it, and we can't be casual about it. We've got to train ourselves. We've got to be great communicators. We've got to be able to build these networks you were talking about.
This is what's happening right now.
Yeah.
In a different way. We are opening different conversations that have to do with national security.
You said something interesting on an episode of Sean Ryan that I saw a couple weeks ago.
What I've heard Sarah and others say.
Over 1,000 suicide bombers were sent by him alone, and the U.S. is dropping cash off at his house weekly.
Is that all indications are that they have trained heavily in close quarters battle, local distributed attacks, and that there's a very good chance that the next thing we see on the homeland could be an October 7 style house-to-house, restaurant-to-restaurant, synagogue-to-chapel kind of attack on a massive scale.
This evening, we are also following this new security warning right here in the U.S. from the FBI and Homeland Security, warning of potential threats to public gatherings, the timing of this, and why they're concerned tonight.
As I look back over my career in law enforcement, I would be hard-pressed to think of a time where so many threats to our public safety and national security were so elevated all at once.
What did the DC snipers do? I mean, think about that. You talk about a $500K budget, like the DC snipers shot out of the back of a car and shut down the Beltway for weeks. Imagine the systemic paralysis that would result from an October 7 style attack across 6 cities at the same time.
I mean, we know what that looks like. You people better start paying attention to what is going on, because this shit is going to happen.
We're looking at an unprecedented level of collaboration between state and non-state actors.
These organizations are not competing against each other anymore. Now it's 21 terrorist organizations working together, training together in Afghanistan with one common goal, and that is us.
Akron, Youngstown, Dallas, Miami.
We had a little brief discussion about suicide, the invisible bomb vests downstairs. Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those things that keep you up at night, right? When we're talking about the threats to the homeland. So we first talked about what they call the invisible bomb in the newsletter, and basically it was highlighted in December, just this last December, and it was Qaeda's in the Arab Peninsula, so their branch in Yemen, right? And they basically were showing off. It's really interesting. The video got taken down right away, and then I think most people in the U.S. didn't even see it, so TSA completely ignored putting out the actual piece of the video that mattered. And so the big piece of the video was teaching terrorists how to make a bomb that goes through a magnetometer. So like most airports in the world, you don't have that weird hand scan thing. You just go through a random metal detector. So this bomb basically goes through the metal detector, okay? So they were showing it off then. Well, now Al-Qaeda's advanced and it's in a suicide vest. But the interesting part is it doesn't just go supposedly through the metal detector. They made it with components dogs aren't trained on to sniff. Al-Qaeda found the Building 7 conspiracy stuff fascinating. And they have actually had discussions about how we could do ruses and bring in the Building 7 people to make them blame their government more. So they're actually even looking at our conspiracies and targeting those people for the homeland attack.
What I keep going back to is whether it's ISIS-K, whether it's the Al-Qaeda, the thing that we know is they love to outdo the last attack. Mm-hmm. They're not going to be casual about the next one. They're going to make it a point to make it bigger and more spectacular and more paralyzing than the last one. And what I've heard Sarah and others say is that all indications are that they have trained heavily in close quarters battle, local distributed attacks, and that there's a very good chance that the next thing we see on the homeland could be an October 7 style house-to-house, restaurant-to-restaurant, synagogue-to-chapel kind of attack on a massive scale.
Do you think we will have to go back to Afghanistan to fight the Taliban?
Everything that we're seeing from multiple very credible sources is saying that it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I'm sure you and I'll talk more about this, but they are in such advanced stages that those operatives are already here. What you can bet on is that they are going to outdo the last attack, and they are going to do it at such a level of emotional impact that we will have no choice but to respond, because it's going to take us into a sympathetic state.
I just want to clarify, you are 100% certain that there are 1,000 plus Al-Qaeda trained fighters within the United States borders.
Al-Qaeda says they trained and deployed 1,000 for this attack. First off, I think there's more than 1,000 Al-Qaeda members in the United States. But for the Homeland attack, that number is based on what Al-Qaeda is saying, so they could exaggerate it. However, they did have about 1,400 in the Hamas attack, so the number is not off from what they did in the first round of attacks.
Is there any indication of what kind of attacks these are going to be? Well, actually, before we get into that, how old is this information?
I mean, it's ongoing. So the training's already done, right? So all the training info is now old because they trained all the Homeland attackers, if that makes sense. So like next week, you're not going to get info of a Homeland attacker probably at a terrorist camp because it's already done.
We live here. We live in this arena, in this, in this represented realm, this digital realm.
All right. It's a lot going on. All right. I'm not trying to scare y'all. I'm just trying to get you ready. I wouldn't be shocked if it doesn't occur that way. You just need to be ready. That's the only reason why I'm showing this, because for some of y'all that are watching, that you have your stuff together, you just need to have your eyes peeled, right? I got the banger right here, right? I probably need to bring some more mags up here, but I got the banger right here. Somebody run up in here and we got secured doors all around here. Somebody come up in here, it's gonna be a light show and they ain't gonna make it too far. But I want all y'all to be ready, because this is a real threat to America. I don't think it's a game. October 7th wasn't a game. They really did that. And I've been saying this for a very long time. We're seeing lone wolf people do stuff that seems to be catastrophic. And our response time in Uvalde, our response time in Pulse nightclub, these response times are dismal, especially when you have depleted police departments. And this is one attacker that are doing this, one person. Imagine if 15, 20 people do it at one time. Most people most law enforcement are not prepared for it. They struggle with one person. And this is the problem that I see in this, is that our country is too busy being silly, talking about diversity, inclusion, and delusion, women in the military, trans people in the military. We shouldn't be having zero conversations about that stuff. We should just be about that action. And I'm telling you this, we talk all this noise about Israel. I don't. Some people do. Oh, they're killing innocent people. And they do that here. Parking lot. I turn that thing to a dirt lot. Turn that thing into a morgue. Graveyard. Everybody got to go. I don't understand why we would even play games with these people. If you come here and you commit a terrorist attack in America, everybody gone. Your kids, adult, I don't care, innocent. Hey, they'll do it on the other side of this. Everybody got to go. We should drop a nuclear bomb and take everybody out. I do not understand, and this is what bothers me about the whole Israel thing. These terrorists come and inflict fear, harm, death on Israel. They tried to shoot rockets on Israel, but they had the Iron Dome, thank God, or they would have killed millions of Israelis. You go and do that, and then you go over there and hide behind your people. You go hide behind women and children. And then when they go out, they have to blow up these places that are targets. They got women and children all in there. And some people think, oh, that's wrong. They shouldn't do that. What you want them to do then? Because they hide behind the regular people. You want them to do nothing? Okay, do nothing. Then they build up and attack you again, and then they hide behind their people. That's what they do. And then if you don't respond and you continue to acquiesce to them hide behind their own citizens as a defense mechanism, they get bigger and bigger and stronger and bolder and crazier. And if you keep doing it, you're going to take a catastrophic loss while they hide behind people that are radicalized. Do you think the women and children in Gaza somehow want peace? They go and do that. Their citizens believe that they're doing a righteous thing, probably most of them, because according to some of y'all, they're occupying and they're committing the genocide. And so the people are in support of fighting against the people that are committing genocide. And therefore, if Israel did nothing, the next generation of these people believe that that was right to do, and they're going to train and they're going to grow up with the mindset that they need to eliminate Israel forever. And so is it a loss when they got to go over there and take care of business? The reason I'm saying that is because I honestly in my whole heart believe that these people may try something in America. And if they do something like October the 7th, I don't want to hear a single person say nothing about how we respond. If you put your kids in the way, they will be dust. If you put women in the way, your women will be dust. If you put your animals in the way and you do all this shenanigans, you're all going to die. What would be best for you to do is if you attack America,